Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Monkey Mafia Esports Series, the 7th round of the season, here at the Yas Marina circuit in Abu Dhabi. Hotspot on the call with you, and, well, unfortunately, it has to be said, it looks like we've only got 10 drivers tonight, so this is going to be more of a laid-back broadcast, has to be said. We'll do some, we'll make it like, what, that Manning cast? What they do with football? You know, just kind of talk about. Well, this is my channel. I can swear if I want. Just talk about random shit the whole time. You know, I don't think anybody's going to be upset with that. We've got ourselves, as I said, 10 drivers on the grid tonight. I guess a couple of them are feeling ill. Or that's at least the. That's what I've gathered off of it. To be right honest with you, I'm not really sure. But here we are then. Anyways, you know, I don't want to say I should have raced, but I've had no time to prepare. And I don't even have a setup for this track, so I think honestly it would have been so much more detrimental if I did race.
It hasn't always been like that though. In the 1950s, the average age of the drivers was 39, with 3 over the age of 50. Max Verstappen managed to finish 81% of his races.
Who's going to be out on track first, sir? Victim, it's last week's winner of Shariah, isn't it? Yeah, he did take last week. That was good for him, his first win of the season. And it only took. Actually, sorry, no, he took Australia. My apologies. The Spain and Abu Dhabi hasn't been updated yet on the Discord, but he did take Australia, which was good to see. And if we look at Spain, last week's winner was Edwin, who isn't here. I don't know who GSR Caesar is, but he got moved down to 7th with Stewards. Osmanian Devil to 5th and Gab to 6th. Shariah himself did finish 4th, which is a pretty solid result from him. Shariah, one of those drivers that's, you know, I think sometimes finds some bad luck, you know, more or less, just kind of, you know, not really having always the best position. I think sometimes he kind of, you know, gets himself in a spot to where he could have a good result, and then, you know, it just kind of goes wrong. Sometimes that does happen. But, well, he's out here. First out on track. Hopefully we get ourselves a good race. If not, we can just shorten it down to a highlight reel, more or less. I've got no problem with that. That saves me time. He's making his way through Sector 3 now. This is Sector 3 that's really got changed quite a lot. And then Latifi corner here, I bet you can take a guess what happened there. As Shariah is about to come to start his timed lap here. Just need to find the... well, that picture doesn't have the corners. Well, he's starting his lap now. Let's see what he has here. I know there was a lot of people that actually like this old layout better than the current one. I can't say I'm one of those people. I do like the banked corner of Turn 9, but Shariah now on his way from Turn 4 down the hill. Infamous Verstappen overtaking Lewis Hamilton. Of Turn 5, it's a corner. Remember, it used to be that awful hairpin corner, and now it's you know, it's gone to a more sensible corner. Remember, it used to go all the way to the back. We had that terrible chicane coming out of Turn 4, and then that chicane, and then the hairpin. And it was there, and nothing ever, no overtaking really happened in it. But, you know, they fixed that now, and it's actually not a bad corner to be had. This back straight 8, all the way down into 9. Remember, this used to be a series of chicanes here. There was more of a, what do you call it, like a couple, like, off-camber chicanes that, you know, sometimes went well. Turn 10, Turn 11, Turn 12. And then the Latifi corner, Turn 14, to be coming up right here. Exits that. Looks like it's actually pretty good, has to be said. This looks a very solid lap, has to be said. Through 15 and 16. This is where we saw Max Verstappen almost lose the car coming to the checkered flag. 124.879. I have not one hell of a clue if that's a good lap or not, to be right honest with you. I think it's okay. As Gasboy actually goes 123.7. See, it kind of looks like Shariah's lap is actually really good. Gasboy's relatively blown that out of the water, has to be said. Makes his way through, what is this now? Well, he's just gone through turn 4. Who's coming on the lap next? I believe we have the Mercedes of Mini. He's about to make his way through 16. It's like almost a Braun GP inspired helmet. Then 127, 355. That's well off the pace, has to be said. Jesus Christ. No offense to him, but 3.6 seconds. That's a bit much. Mazda guy is going to be coming out behind him, and then Caesar's making his way around turn 9. He's actually gone purple sector 2 at the moment. That's quite good. How good? Give you some sports updates going on, because you already know. Just about at the end of the second quarter, Chargers are 14-3 up on the Jets. Let's look and see if there's any hockey going on. You know, now that baseball is over and F1's about to be over in a little bit, I think I'm going to start getting into hockey again. Bruins are 2-0 up over the Stars. Maple Leafs beat the Tampa Bay Lightning 6-5 in overtime. Panthers beat the Blue Jackets 5-4. It looks like the Oilers and the Canucks are still to play. That happens about 15 minutes time at 10 o'clock. We got the Aston Martin that's gone off there. No, that's the other Aston Martin. That's Ray Ray. Well, he's invalidated, and I think he's gone round somewhere. I'm not rightly sure, but tomorrow the Tampa Bay, they play the Canadiens. Buffalo Sabres and the Hurricanes at 7. Wild and the New York Islanders, they play at fucking 7:30. Red Wings and Rangers 7:30. Jets and Blues at 8. Kraken and the Coyotes. Geez, it's weird to say the Coyotes actually aren't the worst team in the league at this point. That belongs to the San Jose Sharks, who I think once again they're going to have a tricky one. They face the Philadelphia Flyers, that being at 10:30. The Child Predators and the Flames at 9. Sidney Crosby, and then facing the Anaheim Ducks at 10. The New Jersey Devils, and then Colorado Avalanche, and then, as I said, the Flyers and the Sharks. What about basketball? I'm gonna be honest. I don't really watch basketball all that much, but let's see. The Clippers are getting their ass handed to them by the New York Knicks at the moment. 104-88 with about 4:20. Nice left in the game. Lakers are getting schmacked by the Heat. Well, I say schmacked. It's only a 10-point game. 107-97. Well, he's gone quite wide then, as Ray Ray. Is he going to be starting a new one here? No, he's on his way in. Gab to his way to turn 9. Looks like a pretty okay lap so far. I would expect him to be kind of closer to the pace here. Bucks and Nets are tied 117 apiece with 4 minutes to go. Celtics are actually losing to the Timberwolves. They've still got about 4 minutes left in the third. Utah Jazz at the moment 17 points down behind the Bulls with about a minute to go in the third for them. The Rockets are smacking the Kings right now by 32 points. Well, I tell you what, Gab's gone second, 124.097. That's 0.4 of a second. He's actually only out-qualified his teammate there by about, what is that, 9 1,000ths of a second? Gee, it's pretty close for the McLarens. Not bad at all. Kings get a 2 to go, and they close that gap to 30. Thunder are kind of smacking the Hawks right now. I would say, what is that, 17 points-ish? Something, it's 90 to 70. I don't know math. Pelicans and Nuggets looks a pretty even affair at the moment. 39-31 with 8.5 minutes in the second. What other sports are happening right now? MLS, perhaps? I know our Revolution play tomorrow against Philly in the playoffs. So it looks like Real Salt Lake is down to the Dynamo in the 40th minute, 1-0. It's quite odd. It's very interesting to be an MLS fan because, as opposed to, say, a English Premier League fan, you're not always up to date with what happens elsewhere in the league. Really, English Premier League, you got 20 teams. Well, MLS has 2 different conferences. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much to this league. We got 15 in the East. I mean, this is a 29 team league. There's so much. It makes no sense. But anyways, so yeah, it's very interesting because if you live in the Eastern Conference like me, or at least support an Eastern Conference team, you have absolutely not a clue what's happening with the rest of the league. I didn't even know Salt Lake made playoffs this year. Salt Lake was not very good for the longest time. And Houston Dynamo always kind of one of those contenders that, don't really do much, but, oftentimes do pretty well. Gasboy's Sector 2 at the moment, 6/100ths of a second faster. Atlanta United played Columbus Crew tomorrow. There's only one other football club named Crew. It's Crew Alexandria? Is that the name of it? I don't even know. Nashville play Orlando. Orlando, came into the league. It was pretty cool when they had Kaká, but now they're irrelevant because Messi's in Miami. And then our New England boys play Philadelphia. And I'm still hoping that what's-his-name sells the team. But anyways, Gasboy making his way out of the final corner. I'm dreadfully sorry I keep going off topic here. 123.487. I did say this was going to be like a Manning cast. We could just talk about whatever the hell we want, so that checks out. 123.487 is actually pretty good, has to be said. Let's go ahead here. Well, I see this is quite a lot of traffic happening here. We've got the Mercedes of Mini, we've got the Red Bull of Cynical, and then there goes the Aston Martin. Actually, Shirai is just 0.4 of a second. Well, I tell you what, Shirai has pulled that one out, hasn't he? I tell you what, he must have made quite some mistakes on his first attempt because a 123.079 is over 0.4 faster than Gasboy. That is quite impressive, that. 7.5 minutes to go here. And until then, pretty much figured Gasboy was going to have pole. I tell you what, Shirai has really put himself into this mix. Looks like Reimer's about 0.7 off of the lead, 0.3 off of Gasboy. Mazda Guy, Fireballer, and Ray Ray, and as well as Cynical have yet to put in a timed lap, although Ray Ray's looking to fix that right about now. Has Mazda Guy gone off? No, he's just chilling. Ray Ray, 619, Booyaka, Booyaka, 24, makes his way out of turn 4. I tell you what, Purple Sector 1 from 17.4, did that say? That's pretty good. What's the drama going on with F1 right now? That's a good question we had. It looks like Gasboy is either gone off or is kind of done a wrongin'. I'm not rightly sure. Something's happened with Machine Gun Kelly going away from the Martin Brundle. I'm not rightly sure what's happened. Machine Gun Kelly's... This is from Crash.net. That sounds like probably... That sounds terribly unreliable, that. But let's see what it has to say. Machine Gun Kelly's F1 experience apparently went from bad to worse after an excruciating gridwalk interview with Martin Brundle. I tell you what, why can't they treat... Okay, Ray Ray's 122.937, first time to crack the 122 so far, puts 10.5 back to Shirai, but why can't people just treat Martin Brundle with respect? I mean, I understand he could be annoying, he's on the grid, but that's his job. You know what I mean? He just exists. As Cynical then actually tops Ray Ray by less than a tenth there, 9/100ths of a second, quite close to that. Cynical, with 5.5 to go, is doing quite well. But, again, why can't they just treat Martin Brundle with respect? It was like, that black woman, what was her name? Megan the Horse or something. I don't even know. But, those people treated him absolutely disrespect. And it's like, he's just trying to do a job, you know? I mean, quite honestly, though, I don't really care if we talk to celebrities. Like, I get it. Christina Aguilera faking an interest in Formula 1, but, Martin Brundle just does not need to do that. As far as, he just doesn't need to waste his time. You know what I mean? You want to let someone do it. Let, like, Lawrence Barretto do it or someone that's, I don't want to say irrelevant, but someone who in the grand scheme of things you wouldn't quite notice if he was there or not. He may enjoy it as well. I don't know. It doesn't seem like Martin enjoys it, but, my question is, why do they not use this? Because they have... Can we go along with the McLaren here, whichever one this is? Gab, going down this back straight now. Well, I say back straight. It's not even really the back straight, but... So he'll come out of turn whatever the hell this is. This is turn 6 and 7. And then we have this straight here. And we've got the pit lane to the right, and we've got what the hell do you call that? You got the gantry across to do the timing. Why not that be the start of the place? That run down to turn 1 would be absolutely incredible. Having that banked corner to start, It would be like a better... First of all, it'd be a better Qatar. It'd be a better Zandvoort, I'd say, even. I mean, this first sector wouldn't really do much in the spirit of overtaking, really. But you'd have the overtaking towards the back end of the lap, where you would want it, at the DRS zones. That last chicane there would cause so much hell that it would be very, very fun to watch, has to be said. That would be an incredible place. This straight here should be the final bit of the lap. It really should. I mean, I'm only just realizing it now. That would be incredible. You've got the pit lane. I don't even know what it's used for, but it looks totally irrelevant where it is. And I mean, it would just make sense. You got a brilliant run down to turn 1 here. Imagine going wheel to wheel with a car, side by side, into this banked corner, exited the corner, comes up on you a lot faster. You'd have to go wide to evade. In here, you could still be side by side if you tried hard enough. Around that corner, this would be a very tricky braking zone. I mean, they want action, they want crashes, they want, you know, exciting begins to the Grand Prix. I tell you what, that first couple of corners would be great. And then you could do what? You could probably, well, I'm not sure you would put DRS over here, down what is now the pit straight, but I mean, you know, honestly, DRS there probably wouldn't be bad either. You could put in a third DRS zone, and you could just go with it. That would be a great overtaking zone. It probably would be. Up the hill through this, I mean, nothing's really going to happen here. Nothing really does happen to begin with. And down the hill, in towards this really tight left-hander, which would be, you know, setting up these final DRS run down the back straight, and then, you know, you'd be side by side going into the chicane at the end of it, where Gasboy's going into now. And then it would be timed based on your exit of the final car. This would be brilliant. Why don't they do this? It would make so much more sense. It looks great. It would be just as better. I do not see why they don't do that. I suddenly have a new beef to pick with F1 here, but with a minute and a half to go, the leader's going to be coming out on track here shortly, but I just want to continue reading this. After an excruciating grid walk interview with Martin Brundle, which went viral online, the musician then reportedly opted to go home midway through the race itself. Well, I mean, I understand it. It appears he might not be a Formula 1 fan after all. Brundle met MGK on the grid moments before the race started. He said, "Good to see you, welcome to the grid." Machine Gun paused, couldn't hear properly, replying, "I have no idea what you said, but thank you." He said, Brundle said, "I said welcome to the grid, MGK, thank you, honored to be here." All he said. Brundle then upped the ante. "Tell us about your career at the moment." Machine Gun Kelly, distracted by a poppy badge on Brundle's shirt, eventually replied after an awkward pause, What are you saying, Brundle? Tell us about your career." I'll do my best Martin Brundle impression. "Tell us about your career at the moment. What's going on for you?" Musician replied, "Oh, my career. I don't think about my career. I don't think about it." Brundle said, "Well, good luck with it. Whatever you do, what do you think about our business in F1? Machine Gun Kelly, "Business is great. It's loud. Your life's on the line. That's exciting." I was at a studio the other week, and Lewis Hamilton was in the other studio. That was nice. "What do you think about my business?" Oh, wait, this is Machine Gun Kelly replied. I'm sorry. Brundle replied, "We love your business because there's always been a great synergy between the music business and the motor racing business somehow." That was terrible. I apologize for that. But 20 seconds to go here. Maybe I should perhaps pay attention to this final go. Cynical is just starting his. Machine Gun Kelly then tried to coax Sky's broadcaster into doing the air guitar live on TV. Thankfully, Brundle resisted before the excruciating interview came to a suitably tense conclusion. "Or something tells me I won't be on his Christmas card list," Brundle muttered. That would have been funny. And that's the end of the article. Wow. And then it's filled with spam ads. So basically they've just... Apparently they've just described what's happened. I didn't actually see it. I wasn't watching live. If you do F1 TV, you don't get the Sky pre-race coverage like that. Well, Gasboy's gone third. Currently him and his teammate occupy second and third, although it has to be said, Ray kind of seems to be struggling at the moment. 0.6 of a second slower through Sector 1, I believe that said. Shirai's gone purple Sector 2, over a quarter of a second faster. He's got pole at the moment, if it stays. Caesar has invalidated, haven't got to worry about him. Let's go along with Shirai. What has he got to cover here? What did that say, 0.2 of a second? Through Sector 2? Latifi corner he goes. Tell you what, looking a solid lap here from Shirai. Maybe can he also get into the 122s? Yes, he can. 122.799. Next around the corner, Cynical. Only 5/100ths behind it. Cynical, 122.570. That puts 2.5 tenths back. Ray then to the line. Well, only improves by 6/100ths. That's not going to help him much. Mazda Guy has invalidated. That will be the final attempt of the session. Unfortunately, Fireballer did not put in a timed attempt, so it is Cynical on pole. Shariah in second. I tell you what, quite a convincingly close gap between the top 7 here. And then Mini, Mazda Guy, and Fireballer obviously looks slightly behind. But I tell you what, the top 7 might have an interesting battle coming up here. What in the hell is that zombie-looking thing there? I tell you what in the hell? Just slightly odd, has to be said. We are then in Abu Dhabi. I'm just reading it. This article saying it's Machine Gun Kelly's anxiety that's caused him to go off. He's taking a picture in front of a. I tell you what, that's a picture. Then that is a dreadfully awkward-looking Christian Horner posing with Machine Gun Kelly in front of the Red Bull. My anxiety has won the artist, adding that he hates being in public. Well, that's interesting. Well, I'm just reading now that this is quite interesting. This is, in reading about it, also goes on about Martin's interview in 2021 with, apparently the woman, his name is Megan Thee Stallion, but she spelt "the" wrong, put an extra E at the end of it. Only stallion she is the one that gets shot after the Kentucky Derby for breaking his leg. Sorry, that may have been too much, I apologize, but, you know. Brundle then added that he likes to call out the celebrities who he believes are just using their... But see, that's what he should do. It's so interesting because, again, Martin Brundle doesn't need to do it, but he does because he's exposing how fake some of these people are. It's absolutely true, isn't it? Oh, I've gotten a ping in the chat. Oh, interesting. I'm not really sure. But, anyways. I think I would assume we're about ready to go here for the formation lap. Could be wrong. 13 checked in tonight. I guess 2 called out last minute. Well, 3 called out last minute because somebody was having some sort of game error, and then somebody wasn't feeling well. A couple people weren't feeling well. It is what it is, you know. That just tells me that I don't need to try as hard. that's just, you know. Of course, you know, I love being able to put on a great product. I take a lot of pride in what I do as the formation lap is about to begin here. But, you know, when it has to be said, EA has just completely killed sim racing here. It has. And you can't say it hasn't. In fact, look at this. The entire grid on mediums. I mean, I don't know. That has to be done with the qualifying rule that they instituted back in 2022. But, I mean, either way, all of them on mediums. Any safety car happens, and the grid... I mean, honestly, it's almost at this instance, you hope for a safety car, because then it'll bunch the grid back up again. You know, who's to say we won't get an exciting race? That part is true. Again, the top 7 were all within a second of each other in qualifying. That's really good. You love to see that. That could mean we're going to have a great race on our hands, but 3 or 4 guys DNF here, you're left with 6 on this big-ass track. It doesn't, I don't know. I hate to, you hate to see it, you really do. Remember back in F1 21, I mean, some leagues were having up to 7 divs. I know Midwest was. I don't know. It's difficult. It's difficult to see. I mean, it's every time I play this game and I see a grid that's like small on people, it just convinces me that I need to get iRacing. I don't even have a PC. I don't even have internet to my house. But EA will just continue to slaughter online racing, as they've done each and every game from here on out. It's how it is. You know, it's so painful to see, but let's take solace in the fact that what we do know is we've got 10 drivers on the grid tonight. 7 of which qualified in a second of each other. 2 out of the final 3, Mini and Mazda Guy, were slightly far off the pace, and Fireballer didn't put together a lap. If I'm to be corrected, Lancey still leads the championship. Let's see here. Yeah, Lancey leads Shariah 131, 118. Gab not far behind 104. Okay, that's a pretty good one. Good battle. Pingolo 4th, 97. He's not here. Cynical at 90 points. He's actually almost about to get into this top 3 here. Fireballer 86 actually leads Slayer Eyes by 1 point. Slayer Eyes isn't here. Reimer here at 83, so if he gets around Fireballer, which at the moment it does look as if he will, he could have himself a good result. As it looks like Gab has not gotten away well. Neither is Reimer, neither is Fireballer. Okay, lights are going to be turning on here. Let's see what we got off the start. 10 drivers. Give them hell, boys. Let's see what we got to do. 4 or 5 lights come on, and eventually they are off. And who gets away well here? It does look as if the Ferrari has done quite well. Let's see what he has into turn 1. To the left of him, to the right of him, rather, is Cynical. Cynical's actually going to drop back just a little bit as the grid files out behind him. Cynical's actually managed to stay alongside the Ferrari up the hill through turn 4. Let's see what if they're able to hold on to yellow flag at the back. It is Mini that's gone around. At the moment, Ray still giving chase to the top 2 here with his teammate of Gazboy behind him. Also looking to do the same. Wow, look at that. Reimer has gone way deep into the corner, and so has Gab has had to take evasive action as they've nearly all run into each other then. That would have been an absolute calamity if they had all kept in that same line. The top 4 here within just a couple of tenths of each other. This is brilliant racing here. To the inside is Shariah on Cynical going through the chicane, and behind them the 2 Aston Martin side by side as well. Somehow, oh, and the Red Bull's gone around. Cynical's gone way down to the inside. And Shariah, well, I would say he takes the lead. He's let off quite dramatically here. Gazboy's going to take it. Reimer up the outside to second. And behind him, the McLaren of Caesar and the Aston Martin of Ray trying to get position as well. But Cynical has fallen way, way back. But if there's anything I know about Cynical, he will be back quite shortly. Mazda Guy nearly lost the car all on his own there, coming off the curb off of turn 9. Side by side ahead here is the Aston Martin and the McLaren, Ray and Caesar. Side by side here through Latifi corner. It looks like Gazboy and Reimer. Well, the interval is slightly deceiving here. Gazboy has pulled out a solid little gap over Reimer at the moment. I'll tell you what, they've all gotten away quite well, except for Mini, who's behind just about 8 seconds now. But I tell you what, quite an eventful first lap for only 10 on the grid. That's quite nice to see. And they're still within a respectable distance of each other, has to be said. Okay. Well, we'll actually keep attention to this one. Fireballer trying to get around Mazda Guy here. We'll see if that's able to happen as in towards turn 5 they go. Yellow flag at the back. Mini's gone around again, and the virtual safety car now out for some reason. How much front wing is Mini? Well, the entirety of it. Okay, that makes more sense. I was about to say, if he's just spun, why is the VSC come out? But there's your answer. It's because the front wing of the Mercedes is gone. So can we see here who's done what? Gazboy and Reimer up 3. Shariah down 1. Remember, he, I would assume, got into Cynical and then was slow getting back up to speed. Either that or he was letting cars by. Either way, Cynical's bounced back to 5th after that. He dropped down to about P8, P9. Back up to 5th, so he's done well there. Shariah, I'm sure, is going to have that one in the back of his head. See, that's the big thing, again, when you have incidents like that. You can't keep reminding yourself that it happened. You just have to keep taking the corner and the circuit one step at a time, really. That is a huge thing as a driver. And also to that, you can't think about, you know, if you're at the lead of the race like Gazboy's doing right here, you can't be thinking and you know, picturing what it's going to be like when you win the Grand Prix. You can't, as we're back to green flag now, and side by side is Cynical and Caesar. I tell you what, Cynical's gotten a great start of the virtual safety car restart there. But you can't, like, take the time to tell yourself, okay, you're winning the race. Let's keep going. Don't mess up. Because the moment you tell yourself that, you lose focus on what's actually happening, and you spin the car. Well, Mazda Guy's gone around and his front wing's gone. Does a little spin for show there, and hopefully the track marshals don't get ran over, and they're able to clean that up. Stay green for now. Mini is in the pits. Gazboy about a second back to Reimer. I tell you what, car looks quite good in the clean air. Mini's retired in the pits. We're down to 9. At the moment, I gotta say, it's quite evenly contested racing here. Only Cynical to Ray and Gazboy to Reimer outside of a second. I tell you what, it's starting to get a little bit more spread out now, but either way, you know, still an understandable gap here between these top cars. Closest battle at the moment is that of Ray Ray back to Shariah for the third spot. Let's see if Ray Ray is able to get around the Ferrari here, exiting turn 9. Meanwhile, the two McLarens within a close distance of each other. Latifi corner they go. I mean, I tell you what, looks at Shirai at the moment. I'm not rightly sure why he slowed down as much as he did. Initially, it looked as if he was trying to give the spot back to Cynical, but Cynical was already spun well out of the way. I thought maybe he was thinking, you know, did Cynical save the car and was there on the inside? I mean, I would have understood that. I would have done the same thing, really. But speaking of Cynical, he's in quite a battle here with Ray Ray. Less than 0.2 of a second. Turn 5 they go. He's going to try the outside. Well, this is bold. Does he make it stick? Yeah, I think he will. And he's going to get DRS as well. Was he behind? Actually, as it turns out, neither of these cars getting DRS. I'm not rightly sure why that is. But Cynical has got that spot quite well. The two McLaren swapping positions here. Trying to, at least. They're side by side into the chicane. Goodness me. And that's the thing. In this league, I have never seen so many teammates come together like they have. It is ridiculous how many times we've seen teammates get into it with each other. It's ridiculous. It really. 0.3 of a second here between Cynical and Ray Ray. Although I will say Cynical is falling off quite behind Shirai here. 1.5. The gap between that battle for third. And it looks as if the top 3 starting to spread out here. Reimer's actually within 0.6 of Gasboy. Let's see if Reimer's able to close in. 0.7, still kind of working it here. Not really close enough at the moment to make anything happen. Maybe into turn 5 if he's lucky, but if he gets a good exit out of 5, he'll most certainly have a chance with DRS, I would think. Not quite there. Meanwhile, it does look as if the rest of the cars have began to spread themselves out over a second gap between every other driver, barring the top 3. Tell you what, it's getting pretty close between these two. Let's see if something happens here. 0.5 of a second or less. This is where Checo held up Lewis that one time. That was pretty good. 0.3 and closing. Reimer, does he have it down to the inside? Yeah, I'm going to say he does. Although, does Gasboy have traction around the outside? No, I don't think he will. Very nicely done from Reimer there. So that's an interesting thing, why F1 hasn't tried doing that. You know in NASCAR how they try to simulate multiple grooves being in a corner. You know, I wonder why F1 doesn't do that. Because say that turn 9, you know, it was clear that Gasboy didn't have the grip around the outside. Although I'm sure that would have been brilliant if he did. But, you know, NASCAR, what they'll do, they'll go out there with a PJ1, I think it's called. It's a traction compound. It smells, if you see it, it'll go out there. It does smell like someone has dumped a gallon of sunscreen out on the track. And essentially it makes another groove for the cars. You know, you got the natural one that's rubbered in, but then you got the PJ1 up top that is already acts as if it's rubbered in. So I'm wondering why, you know, F1 hasn't tried doing that. Maybe, you know, they tried it at Zandvoort or something, perhaps. It's 0.3 of a second here. Gasboy down to the inside. I tell you what, good proper battle this, and Shariah in pursuit. And by the way, Cynical has actually joined this battle as well, back within a second of Shariah, which is good to see. See, this is where the outside groove would be helpful. Oh, Gasboy, no, and Reimer's gotten into him. Voila, and suddenly... Oh, Jesus! Well, Reimer nearly went straight on track. In fact, he did go straight on track, right in front of the McLaren of Caesar. He's gotten 3 seconds for multiple warnings here, but Jesus, how has he not gone straight into the car there? And then once again, Shiraya and Cynical battle for the lead. What a turn of events that was. You see, Gazboy went up the track, tried to find the grip, and it wasn't there. You know, granted, I think he's put the throttle down too heavily, but, say there was the traction compound there, we would have had a good side-by-side battle through the corner, and that wasn't the case. And I'm actually, it does appear that Reimer does have damage. I was about to say, he hit that car a ton. I'd be surprised if he didn't. Let's see what happens here. I'm more interested to see if Shiraya lets Cynical by. Again, I'm not entirely sure what happened there. I think just from, initial looks at it, it did look as if Cynical was hit from Shiraya, but I'm not sure. I could be wrong. I do tend to be wrong sometimes, I will admit. Like, funny enough, I just learned today that there's actually a glitch in the telemetry that, looks as if they're, like, full throttle and they're not shifting. Well, around the outside looks Cynical here, through 9. And Shiraya just has, I would think, better grip on the inside then. But if you see them, like, come out of a corner, and you see the car, like, not shifting, it's not because they're not shifting, it's the game, it's a glitch, is what I've learned. Like, you see Shiraya, like, that does seem to be short shifting here. See if he does it, perhaps. I don't know. It's tough to tell, but if you've watched the broadcast, you know that sometimes it does happen. As Gabs had a bit of a spin there. Thankfully, he's out of the way for the most part. Still half a second here as we begin the 8th lap of the Grand Prix. Down the hill in towards turn 5. Cynical with DRS. Let's see if he's able to get around the Ferrari here. And that's another thing. If you do pick up a penalty, maybe, like, well, let me rephrase that. If you do get involved in an incident, like I think Shiraya did earlier, again, I could be wrong, but from initial looks, that's what it looked like, you know. But, that's a problem that I have, definitely, is when you get to the position of trying to, you get in an incident, and you're really trying to race on ice, you're tiptoeing throughout the rest of the Grand Prix. As we see Cynical once again getting up to Shiraya here. Oh, he tries it around the outside that time. Anyways, but you see it happen, and, you understand in the moment that may be a penalty. You can't keep thinking about it either, because right now Shiraya, I guarantee you, if he was thinking about it, he would have let Cynical have the spot. Right? But he's not thinking about it. He's keeping racing. He's trusting that even if he gets a penalty, come the end of the race, he still has to do his part to get enough gap behind, at least to the driver behind the driver immediately behind you. So right now, say he's going to be in for a 5-second penalty. He's now got to think about still getting down the best lap times as he can, because at the moment he's got a 2-second gap to Ray Ray in third. Well, sorry, that's about, well, yeah, that is about 2 seconds. Actually, yeah, about 2.5. So just think of it like that. Shiraya now has to keep going, because I think pretty much either way, especially with DRS here, he'll probably lose the spot to Cynical. He has to keep thinking. Like, he has to race assuming that Cynical's going to report him. Therefore, he can get ahead, hope something happens behind him out of his control that severely impacts the race of Cynical. Cynical's going to try around the outside. He's going to get him on the late brakes, it looks. My goodness, does he hold that spot? Wow. Oh, keep it up the inside there. That's such a ballsy place to go side by side, and I think Cynical really realized that as well. He backed off quite quickly. Latifi corner. Yeah, it does look as if Shiraya does have the better car at the moment. Cynical is doing well. I'm just worried how much, damage does Cynical have, because you can't see side pod damage. At least visibly from my point of view. You can't see that. You could see wing damage. Although even sometimes people will change the wings and we'll have no idea. But, assume that car has damage on it. It doesn't really look like it, as, he's still within 3.5 tenths of Shiraya, despite, the incident earlier on. So these two are racing for position as far as I'm concerned, and it's going to stay that way. Let's see if he gets him here. Well, I tell you what, he's DRSing, but he's not necessarily using his energy store, which tells me he's in no sort of hurry to get that spot. Shirai's going to actually block that outside line quite nicely. See if he does it again. See again, DRS activated, not really using his battery. Shirai is using all of it, down to within 30%. Cynical is just toying with the Ferrari here. Oh, does he perform the good old switchback? No, he doesn't. I thought he was going to. He had the outside line like he wanted to, but didn't really do it. Caesar has 3 seconds of penalty. That was earlier on. That was within the first couple of laps there. Still 0.4 of a second the gap. This is actually great racing here between these two. The rest of the grid is rightfully spread out here. Not one other driver in DRS range of another. Although these two keep battling, I would assume Ray Ray is going to join the fray here quite shortly. But again, Cynical's not panicking. He's not... You can see it. If he was really trying to get that spot right now, he'd be using his energy store. He'd be getting after it. Shiraya, I think, hasn't caught on to that yet, because Shiraya is down to 30%, so he knows that Cynical's there, and he's assuming that Cynical's going to make that spot. You know, Shiraya, I wouldn't think is... I wouldn't necessarily believe he's thinking too much at the point to where, you know, he's thinking, oh, why hasn't Cynical used his battery? Why is he not necessarily closing me down here? Because he's only gaining about 5/100ths a second here. He's not really getting all that close. He's getting within 1/10.5 there. It's not close enough to make a move, you know. Remember in F1 2020 and 2021, as Mazda guy gets 3 seconds. But remember the older games, you could be within 0.3 of a second of a guy and still make that move happen. These cars don't get the aerodynamic advantage until you're side by side with a guy like this. I mean, Cynical here, he's not going to be able to outbrake him 0.3 of a second back like this. That doesn't look like much of a gap. In 2021, you would have absolutely went for that move 9 times out of 10. You can't do it. You just can't do it. The DRS is so powerful that it really, and these cars create so much downforce, that it really takes away from it. You have to be right alongside a car to make it happen. You don't see the lunges anymore, which, you know, from a stewarding point of view, is probably better, to be right honest. But, you know, either way, 0.6 of a second. And it's actually starting to expand here again. Shirai was outside of almost 7.5 there for a moment. Cynical's brought it back down. As into turn 5 they go. Let's see what happens here. Shiraya, yep. Well, he's not using it at the moment. He's once again conserving. I think he's, yeah, he's up over 5.5 there going into the DRS section. Cynical's not really using his, but again, he's gained about a tenth and a half there. Shiraya has over that last lap. You can see either that or Cynical's made some sort of mistake. Although I'm interested to see what's going to happen here. He's within 0.3 of a second going into turn 9. 2.5 and closing around the outside. Shiraya once again blocks the line brilliantly. Has to be said, Shiraya's been so good at defending so far, because he knows that as long as he blocks off that move into turn 9, it is ahead of him at the turn 6 chicane. Cynical's not really going to have an opportunity to overtake him again until turn 6 and 7, maybe 5 if he's lucky. If he gets a good run at a turn 1 and, you know, keeps it clean through 2, 3, and 4, you know, maybe turn 5 could happen. But that right there is, I would say, a rather aggressive place to make it happen. You know, you wouldn't necessarily need to make a move there, and I think Cynical is realizing that. Meanwhile, the two McLarens now almost within a second of each other here. Gab has 1.17 back to Caesar for the sixth spot. As we said, Fireball on his way in. So medium tires going about 15 laps here, I'd say. Well, what's that ahead? Caesar's gone well wide of the track. I'm not rightly sure what's happened. Yeah, hard tires going on. So we can go ahead and assume that whatever Cynical does here, or whatever Shiraya does, Cynical's going to have to follow. I think, you know, giving up the position in hopes that you're running faster laps than the car ahead, especially without DRS, that's not really going to be helpful. So I would assume one in after another here. Shiraya, I mean, Cynical may go in and force Shiraya into a position where he needs to cover off the undercut. But I would expect that if Shirai is going in, Cynical's going to go in too. I think Cynical is running very, way too similar a lap time to Shirai right now to actually, overcut him. And I think, especially without the aid of DRS, of course, he does have a lot of battery saved up. You never know. I mean, you're not really going to resort to that most of the time. Maybe you will down the straight. But you have to think as well, Sector 2 is entirely in the straight. Oh, look at this. Cynical has actually gone first here. He's gone for the undercut, hasn't he? Well, that I didn't expect. As Gazboy getting around his teammate Ray Ray, who's on his way in. Well, this is interesting from Cynical here. I didn't expect the undercut to come into play. I thought he was just going to copy Shiraya and stick with the half-a-second gap that he had. That is quite a bold situation there from Cynical. Cynical, who I think has had plenty of times to overtake more or less on track. He's chosen for the strategical option. Exits the pit lane. Reimer, I would say, is side by side with Ray Ray here. In fact, he almost was there for a minute. Ray Ray is, well, he's going to be struggling on these cold tires here for the time being, you'd have to think. Reimer's been out for a couple of laps already on those hards. Ray Ray is going to have, I would think, a little bit more difficult of a time with his cold, hard tires. But, well, I tell you what, he's going for it here. 0.3 of a second in closing. He's tucked right behind the Alpine. Getting as much slipstream as he can down into turn 6 and 7. He may get it. He may get it, or he may prioritize the exit of turn 7, and that's what he's going to do. He's going to switch back to the inside. Well, it has to be said, they've gotten away quite evenly then, but I still think the Aston Martin's going to have a better one here. Why is nobody trying to overtake on the inside up this corner here? I know Reimer's kind of blocked the line off, and Ray Ray's going to actually go around the outside, and I think he's going to make it stick as well. I'll tell you what, very nicely done from Ray Ray. I didn't quite think he was going to have enough around the outside there, but he's done just that. But I wonder why nobody's going up the inside to turn 9. I mean, we saw Shiraya, we saw Reimer just then. Defend really well to the inside, but there was still space. And I think that is something, I don't know. Ray Ray's got 3 seconds for multiple warnings. It looks like Cynical's going to promote himself. Oh, bold this. Cynical's going to come out ahead of Shiraya. Well, Shiraya on the fresh tires. I tell you what, the gamble paid off. Well, Cynical undercut Shiraya by 1 lap, and that lap was worth a second of gap. That's a lot of rhyming there. Page Dr. Seuss immediately, please. Reimer was having a look down at the inside there. I didn't quite think anything was going to happen that time. See what he tries to do here. Does he try the inside or does he go for the outside? He's going to go for the outside again. He's got more than 2 cars width there down to the inside. I think it would be a very aggressive maneuver, don't get me wrong, but I mean, if you're on the last lap, you absolutely go for that. But he's done well then to get around Gazboy, around the outside as well, which we saw Gazboy do to him the lap before. Actually, Fireballers in this battle as well. Through Latifi corner they go. Cynical's got the fastest lap, 1:26, and I tell you what, he's opened up 2.5 seconds back to Shiraya. Well, in the pits comes Reimer, which, hasn't Reimer already pit? 8-lap old hards, why is he pitting here? Back to the mediums? That would be a bold call. Oh, he's got a front wing change. Well, I didn't notice that at first. I don't really know why. The front wing looks fine, but mediums and a front wing for Reimer. Huh. That's a little puzzling to me. I don't recall seeing him hit anything. He wouldn't have had to have made an adjustment to the wing angle. Typically, they just have a couple little drills they pull out and drill into the front wing to adjust that. Meanwhile, Cynical is about 0.8 of a second behind Caesar here for the first spot, although Caesar hasn't stopped yet on those 15-lap old mediums. I tell you what, the overcut may actually do a little well here. I mean, he'll fall to about P7, about where his teammate is. But I tell you what, he's done actually quite well. See how hard Cynical does to try to get around him here. It's 0.3 of a second. I would assume Caesar's going to be coming in probably this time. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I think Caesar wanted to go in. You can see, I think he went extra wide to try to let Cynical get in, get down the inside. Because I think Caesar wanted the pit, but he's going to have to stay out another lap. Oh, that, I tell you what, Caesar may not be happy about that one. You can tell he went so wide through the corner. I think he was trying to almost let Cynical down to the inside to get around him. That's what it looks like initially. Could be wrong. All the while, that has allowed Shariah back within a second of Cynical here. Which, that gap was about 2.5 seconds not long ago, and we now have a 3-car battle for the lead. Cynical's going to go around the outside of Caesar here well before they get to the chicane. In fact, I would say almost about 300 meters before the corner. That's going to leave Shariah Coleslaw in a good position. I'm just hoping Caesar doesn't hold up Shariah too much here. Because Shariah clearly has the pace, I think, to really challenge Cynical. Although, to be right honest with you, it did seem like Cynical was well overpowering Shariah Coleslaw when those two were battling for the lead before the pit window. Oh, this is interesting here. How hard does Shariah try? Because Caesar is now already about 2 seconds behind Cynical. Let's see, does Shariah go to the inside? No, he's going to wait, and Caesar does duck out of the way, finally. I tell you what, again, I think Caesar wanted the pit last time by. Didn't quite happen. So that goes down as 50-50 grid-wise between having time penalties and not. So that's actually going to be quite good for the racing then, because positions like... Well, Caesar's on his way out, but positions like Fireballer and Ray Ray... Oh, well, Ray Ray's gone well off track then. Surely that is... I tell you what, if you were on simulation damage, that would have absolutely smacked the floor. Tell you what, in real F1, that car would probably be retired with how much jumping about that car did. Reimer on the mediums, fastest lap so far. Reimer, remember, went medium... He went to the hards for 8 laps, then went back to the mediums again, which I thought was quite odd, but if he's put the fastest lap together, that's going to be an extra point in his account. Looks as if the McLarens are going to swap positions here, both of them on 3-second penalties. It's going to be a pure pace for the both of them, and Caesar does get ahead of Gab. Which I think is, I want to say, might be the smart choice to be had there, although I will say, well, Gasboy's picked up 3 seconds of time penalty. I was going to say it was going to be a no-brainer for the Aston Martins to... invert positions there, but if they're both on 3-second penalties, I think it is going to come down sheerly to lap time. But even then, I still think, at the moment, Gasboy is quicker. Let's see what the times come out to here. So, Ray at the line, 128. Gasboy at the line... Oh, it's gone away, hasn't it? Fuck me. Anyways. I hate when it does that. Anyway, so, meanwhile, Shariah's still trying to get within Cynical here. He's about 2 seconds off. He's starting to close in, mind you. If you're curious, next week we go to Bahrain for the 8th round. Should be a very fun Grand Prix. After that we go to Brazil. Gasboy down to the inside, and the Aston Martins finally invert positions here. I thought that probably the best idea for sure. Rest of your season looks like this. We're about halfway through, actually. I believe today is the halfway point of the season. Bahrain, Brazil, Monaco, Jeddah, Austria, Qatar, Zandvoort, and then Imola to round out the season here. A lot of racing left to go. Actually racing New Year's Day at the Zandvoort round for round 14. That ought to be great. Way to bring in 2024. Hopefully this year I won't be alone on New Year's. Yeah, might be asking too much. Anyways, so it definitely looks as if the position swap was probably the better idea. As you can see, it's Gasboy's got the fastest lap, actually, 125.596. Which, that's a really good lap, actually. That's beaten Reimer. Remember, Reimer had the fastest lap on the medium, so it looks as if that there's not a lot of difference between that two, eh? It's not bad. So it's a second between the two Aston Martins. All but three have picked up a time penalty. Mazda guy's actually gotten his second just then. Multiple warnings, up to 6 seconds. Holy mackerel, the Pacers smacked the Spurs 152 to 111. My lord. 41-point gap. Lakers lost to the Heat on the final play of the game. What else could you expect? LeBron is old. Time to leave. As who was that just bricked back rim there? Oh, that was painful. Who was shooting that? What? Wide open three. The Cam Reddish who took the shot? Yeah. You got LeBron. You got Anthony Davis on the floor. You got, I think that's Austin Reeves. Could be wrong. No, that's not Anthony Davis. Who the hell is 35 on the Lakers? I don't know, but either way, I tell you what. LeBron did a chase down block on Tyler Hero. That's pretty cool. Still lost. They almost, you know what they ought to do? They ought to do that thing from, like, Top Gun, you know, where Maverick, he's like, oh, we're going to hit the brakes here, Goose, and then just stop running, because LeBron jumps over your back, and then his balls hit the back of your head. He's going to go for a foul, surely. That's over the back. Yeah? I mean, surely you would know if there's a guy coming up behind you like that. I mean, a little, I mean, I don't know. I can't really talk on many sports because I'm not good at them, but, you know. In other news, Arnold Schwarzenegger came on the cast of the Manning cast for the football game, and he's brought a donkey with him, like a real-life donkey. Donkey! Anyway, that was poor, I'm sorry. Back to the football updates. Fourth quarter, 17-6. Chargers still winning. I feel like that's kind of a mid-game for the Chargers. Then again, I think the Chargers are probably, I would think, almost the worst coach team in the NFL. They have some of the worst play calling probably ever. Has to be said, the team just blows, honestly. That guy that calls the plays, I mean, you got a receiver like Mike Williams, you got Austin Eckler, you got Justin Herbert, and you still can't really do anything ever. Right now, 3-4, about to be 4-4, naturally. But I mean, yeah. So with 7 laps to go this time by, Cynical's got a 2.5 lead over Shariah. And, oh boy, Ray has lost the car. Oh god, and he pulls right out of, oh my, Jesus! He's pulled right out in the traffic, fireballer. Nearly ate shit, about to run into the back of him. My god. Well, Ray's gone in. I don't know how much of his front wing he's lost there. It didn't initially look as if any, but Jesus. That was almost catastrophic. In Latifi corner as well. My lord. Well, unfortunate for Ray. I was about to say, we've got excess of 3-second gaps up and down the grid, minus that gap for the lead. It's still hanging tough at about 1.5 seconds, not really closing either. Mazda guy's up to 9 seconds now. That's his third 3-second penalty for most warning. Gee, you wonder why... I mean, I don't know. I don't really know why. But it would almost make more sense to have the real... As it looks like the McLaren swapping positions here. No, the second one's in the pits. That's odd. Onto the softs. But anyways, you know how in real life the time penalty for exceeding track limits is actually 5 seconds? You'd almost think that that would make more sense in a 50% race like this, and in the real race give out 3-second penalties, because obviously there's a lot more, like, error, perhaps, in a full-distance race. I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. Good question. Well, Cynical leads here. He'll come to the stripe this time with, I believe, 5 laps to go. Yep, 5 laps to go. I had to count them. See, it's difficult because you have to count the lap that you're on as well, because especially if you just start it. So you got 5 laps to go here. You have the entirety of lap 25, 6, 7, 8, and 9. That's 5 laps. That's one of the things I hate about casting, is because you have to remember little technical things like that. Like, obviously, you just look at it and say, oh, there's 4 laps to go. Well, 4 laps would be lap 28. Because you have to include... Yeah, anyways, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So, meanwhile, it has to be said, Shariah has cut down this gap by about 0.3 of a second. It's not necessarily getting any closer. I mean, it was at 1.6 not long ago, and is even further before that, but, I mean... I don't know if Cynical is perhaps struggling, or Shariah is finding life in the car. I mean, you can see he's used the majority of his battery, 10% now. Actually, about 15% for the both of them, really. I'm wondering if it is Cynical losing time, or if it's Shariah gaining it. I'm not quite sure. 1.3 the gap here. Let's see what the delta is in times. Hopefully this time I can read it. So you have to switch back and forth right quickly. Through Latifi corner they go. Back to the start-finish line coming up here. So Cynical's going to cross the stripe at 127 something or another. And Shariah is, I would say, within tenths of that. They were both in the 127s. I wish how, you know, if you've ever played Gran Turismo, especially the 7th one, I don't know about the earlier ones, but if you play Gran Turismo 7, you'll see on the right side of the screen, it will give you list of your previous lap times. I think it will give you your best and the previous 10 laps. I think something like that would be really helpful to have in this game, just so you know what you're losing. Because, you know, you're in the race right now, you just look at the time, and if it says you're gaining time, you know, you should be able to have the ability to, I think, like, almost calculate how much time you're losing and gaining. Like in GT7, you could tell, okay, where am I making mistakes, or is it the tires, is it the tire degradation? In this, you have to assume every time that it's tire degradation, when you just know that isn't true. You know, 1 lap of difference between these tires, I think, is that correct? 1 lap, 2 laps at the most? Yeah, 1 lap between the 2 sets of tires is not worth 0.3 of a second a lap. It's just not. It's not. Okay, so that tells me that Cynical's losing time somewhere, but where he's losing time, we'll never know. That's just the end of it, you know? So what is he at? 127.648, 127.450. So Shariah's about a tenth faster at the moment. And with just 3 laps to go here, we'll check back in on this in a minute. Reimer's within 0.8 of a second of Gab here for the 5th spot. He'll be getting the 5th spot anyways, considering the 3-second time penalty that the McLaren has amassed here. Assuming Reimer doesn't pick one up himself. Could be. Still got a lot of time left, a lot of corners. I have gained and lost podiums before in last lap penalties being had. There's 0.5 of a second. Doesn't really need to try too hard. You know, he could get around Gab on track. He doesn't need to push. you know, he's in the situation where as long as he doesn't make a mistake, he's going to get around him anyways. He's not going to gain any more positions beyond that. He won't lose any, so I think Reimer just has to be clean here. Of course, you know, as a driver, you want to take him on track, but sometimes it is just better to do it the other way around. So Shirai's actually lost about 3/10 this lap. All the way down to 0% battery. He is using it. He is pushing. Whereas I think Cynical is trying to, you know, maybe save up a little bit as Reimer around the outside through the chicane. Well, I tell you what, I thought he wasn't going to be too ballsy with it. I tell you what, he's gone all out there and he's made that spot. He does appear to be right quicker than the McLaren, but still. Slightly bold. Unless Fireballer picks up 6 seconds of penalty in the last 2 laps of the race. I don't know. He didn't really need to do that. 2 laps to go here. 1.3 the gap between the 2 leaders. Meanwhile, Gab's still teetering on the brink of a second between himself and Reimer. For a second, it almost looks like he's gaining time. I think in the slow speed, he is losing time. Maybe down the straight, he's doing okay. 1.2 the gap. It is now closing. Shirai, again, is going to be using all of his battery here. Cynical not really using it, but again, he's down to his last 10% as well. I think Shiraya is genuinely going to have to do this one on pace. He can't rely on the battery anymore. I think he's past that point. He's just going to have to go for it. 1.4 the gap here, a lap and a half to go. You see the recharge light on then from Shiraya. Cynical is only able to conserve up to 11%. You can see his light will be on here in a minute as well. Interesting. Why don't we see that from... Is it just in the braking zones that we don't... Oh, that's interesting. I never considered that. Just look at it here. Yeah, has it turned on for the Red Bull there? I'm not rightly sure. Let's look. I've never actually thought about this. We're about to start the last lap of the Grand Prix, and here I am noticing technical differences between the 2 cars. Maybe a Cynical, you know, messing about with the, oh, we've got, Mazda guy's gone off, I think. Yes, he has, at Latifi corner. And he's going to have to get out of the way right quickly here. He's got the grid coming round. But gee, that one almost went so poorly. So, recharge on for Shirai, even though he's using the overtake button. I think you can see that it's on for Cynical. I could be wrong. The light's actually on for both of them. I don't really know what the deal is with these two, but... Anyways. Yeah, I think unless Cynical makes a mistake here, it's going to be all in the bag for Shiraya. For Cynical. I think it's kind of all gone for Shiraya here. I tell you what, he's had a pretty good race. You know, Cynical did perform a hell of an undercut to get around Shiraya in the first place. But props to Shiraya for being able to come back here and you know, get within a respectable position of the Red Bull. He's going to get it down to within a second here, I think, by the end of the lap. But coming through Latifi corner now, you can see Shirai on low fuel. Ah, he's on, well, both cars actually on low fuel as well, so they've kind of teed this one up to perfection here. Coming out of the final corner, it will be Cynical taking home the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Shirai did one hell of a job to get back up to him, and he's finished second, less than a second behind. It looks as if... Well, I'm not sure. I didn't know if the order is going to stay the same or not. We'll wait for the end of it, just to see where it comes out with penalties. Fireball are going to be coming through up next. He'll definitely finish P4 here. Reimer is actually just about 2 seconds off from being able to take that spot, 2.5 to be exact. So Reimer could have had P4 there almost. Gab in 6th, Caesar 7th. Looks as if Ray is going to be here taking 8th. And, well, next week we head back to the desert again, this time at a better circuit, in my opinion, at least Bahrain, for the 8th round of the Monkey Mafia Esports Series. Hotspot, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure joining you this time out, despite the lack of drivers. Oh, big slide there. We'll see you next week.